left off was with Colin Baker. I am currently up to David Tennant. So I have Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, and Christopher Eccleston to catch up on. So, Sylvester McCoy. The first thing I want to say about him was, and then this just floored me. I walked into the whole thing, just my mind boggling. Apparently, Sylvester McCoy did the role of Radagast from The Hobbit. So, about one arc into Doctor Who, the Seventh Doctor, my mind exploded and I just went, oh my God! And I just saw a man with bird shit dripping down his face. So, at this point with Doctor Who, we were definitely heavy into the 1980s writing. The music, the CGI was very much 1980s, and there was a lot of propaganda. Not as much as there was with the Sixth Doctor with Colin Baker, but it was still a hard presence. To be perfectly honest, this is the part of the story where, oh good God, it just, you could tell the writers and producers were trying to make up for what they did with Colin Baker's years. Now, I'm gonna reemphasize that this is not a reflection of the actors. The actors are given a script, they're given direction, and they have the producer saying, you're going to do it this way, and they have the producer saying, you're going to wear these clothes, and they have the director saying, okay, now I want it done this way. So the actor can only work with the tools they're given. So I want to make it very clear that Colin Baker did not have any say whatsoever in the role that he portrayed. He only did the best that he could do with the script he was given. My problem with Colin Baker's character is the writing, the producing, and the directing, not the actor. So that's the first thing I want to say. And definitely you could see by the end of Colin's arc, his final year, and he only had 2 years. He was actually since Christopher Eccleston, he was the shortest playing Doctor. Christopher was only here for 1 year. So you could see at the end with Perry how he was definitely, the writers were trying to save the script. Just to recap, if you're coming into this, they were doing very well with the show. Dr. 5 was fantastic, and he had regeneration issues. So there was a lot of things going on that just didn't quite look right, but there was a lot of explanation provided to explain why the Doctor wasn't clicking. So that really compensated for a lot. And I'm going to be the first to tell you, within the first 2 seconds of seeing Dr. 5, I was able to go, oh yeah, that's the Doctor. So actually, while it took me like 3 years to warm up to Tom Baker, I warmed up to the 5th Doctor almost right away, like instantly. I loved him. So we move on to the 6th Doctor, and between the 5th and the 6th Doctor, they decided it's the 80s now, let's throw everything out. So they fired the script writers, they fired the producers, the show did. They brought in new producers, new director, new writers, and they said, this is ours now, we're going to prove ourselves. So they completely revamped everything, and they frigged it up, like beyond recognition. It was horrible what they did to it. So you see Colin Baker, you see the show that comes in, everyone hated it. It was the worst. Oh my God, it was terrible. They rewrote the character, they botched everything. By the end of the 8th Doctor, by their end of their 2nd season, after their ratings bombed, they did this scramble, oh, let's try and fix this. And you saw that with Perry's death. They came in, they cleaned everything up, and it was starting to pick up again. I mean, you could definitely see the quality coming back, the changes. And I'll be the first to tell you, I've already gone back and rewatched Doctor 2, and I'm already rewatching Doctor 6. So as bad as he was, I'm still going back and rewatching that era, because it's that, it's still Doctor Who, and it's still really, really good. I see me going back and rewatching Christopher Eccleston. Focus, Sylvester McCoy. So we get to the 7th regeneration, and I don't think I'm certain they did not plan for the regeneration. I think at the end of Colin's years, they were planning on a third comeback, a third schedule. And I think the producers came back and said, no. And the reason why I say this is because every single season finale where they're going to bring in a new doctor ends with the episode showing the doctor regenerating. So sometimes they'll show the face later. Sometimes they'll wait for the reveal. Sometimes they'll show you the reveal and then cut, and that's your season finale. And then they start the new season up, and you literally step in the door and you see the new doctor. You get a feel for that. And you all saw this with the Christopher Eccleston season finale into the David Tennant regeneration. That is a process they have been using since literally Doctor One's first regeneration into Patrick Troughton. So that is a very typical Doctor Who. In fact, the only regenerations you don't see, and this is getting to my point, is Doctor 6 to Sylvester McCoy, Doctor 7. You do not see Paul McGann to the the ninth Doctor. Paul McGann is 8th Doctor. You do not see that transition to Christopher Eccleston, which you all know. You start off and you see Christopher Eccleston and you're like, okay. I watched it and I went, why aren't they showing me the regeneration? So only twice they do this. It's a very unusual thing. But I could see where the season ended with Sylvester McCoy. He's talking to Ace. Ace is his companion through his entire Ace days with him. So he kind of walks into the forest back to the TARDIS, and they're talking about all the adventures they're going to be had. And then the show's cut. And that's like 88, 89, and then in 1999 they make the movie with Paul McGann. Now they bring Sylvester McCoy back for the movie, and you watch a good portion of Sylvester McCoy, about 10, 15 minutes of it, if not 20 minutes, is Sylvester McCoy. So it picks up right where we left off, but Ace is gone. So that was one thing where I'm going, well, where's Ace? So they cut back. What I'm trying to say is with Sylvester McCoy, you don't see this. There is nothing there. They end with Colin Baker. There is no wrap-up or regeneration. And then suddenly the next season starts, and they're hiding the Doctor's face. The companion and the Doctor are on the ground, but the TARDIS control center is hiding the Doctor's face. So you're looking at it, and I knew because we track it. So I went, okay, they regenerated the Doctor already, and they're not letting us see. And again, I knew this because I was watching the list on Wikipedia, so I knew when the next Doctor would be coming in. So watching it in that way, we never actually got to see the regeneration. We never got to find out why he regenerates. I'm assuming whatever was going on with the TARDIS, he fell, maybe injured himself. You're not really given any explanation. So the second season with the Doctor ends. Sylvester McCoy comes in. Loved him instantly. Absolutely loved him instantly. He really nailed the character right off with where the 5th Doctor was. Like he regenerated and boom, in character. It took me seconds to fall in love with him, just like the 5th Doctor. And I base my affection on the Doctor based on how long it takes me to warm up. That's something I've learned about myself. With Tom Baker, it took me 3 years before I finally said, okay, that's the Doctor. And I felt like I spent the first 3 years going, okay, when's he going to feel like the Doctor to me? David Tennant still does not feel like the Doctor. I am in second season with David Tennant, and it still doesn't feel like the Doctor. And to be honest with you, and I'm probably going to get like lynched for this, I don't like David Tennant. There's a lot about him I'm just like, it's not the Doctor. It's not the Doctor. Christopher Eccleston nailed the role. Absolutely. He had so much of the 3rd Doctor in him. I was in love with Christopher Eccleston the minute he opened his mouth to say, run! And I'm like, ah, Patrick! So there was, absolutely. Paul McGann, loved him right away. I'm trying to figure out if that's true. Yeah. Paul McGann I did like right away. There was one line. The movie kind of balanced on that cheesiness to really awesome. I'll get to the movie in a different video. But Sylvester McCoy nailed the role. And at this point, you could see the producers trying to rescue and save the ratings. I think what happened was the BBC came in and said, look, if you don't get X amount of ratings by this date, then we're shutting you down. So they were desperate to get ratings up. They were desperate to get this pushed on. And I think you could tell they were trying to save the script. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Sylvester McCoy did a phenomenal job with the role. I feel like the writing was wasted on him. I feel like his performance was wasted on the writing. I'm trying to forget. The writing sucked. He didn't. He was perfect. If they had better writers, it would have been astounding, and I think it would have boosted everything back up. If they had gotten rid of that 1980s garbage, it would have been perfect. So what's bothering me the most right now is I wanted to see Sylvester McCoy make his appearance with Tom Baker, so that you see, and this is really like I said, everything kind of gets jarbled up after Tom Baker, the fourth generation. So I'm looking at this going, okay, if it had gone Tom Baker then Sylvester McCoy, there never would have been a taper. I think if they had put Sylvester McCoy right after Tom Baker, the show would have just shot right up with ratings and continued. He did that good of a job. I think I think the fifth regeneration went well. As I think his performance was phenomenal. I cannot remember the fifth Doctor's name right now. But I think his performance went very well. Peter Davison. The problem I had with Peter's performance is the writing. Again, they wrote in that he was having problems with regeneration. And I think that was a problem. Because up until this point with Tom Baker, there was no such thing as having problem with regeneration. You regenerated and it was fine. This is what you were born to do because you're a Time Lord. But they bring that concept in with the fifth Doctor, where suddenly he's not regenerating properly, and it's like, okay, so what happened? That concept of failure to regenerate properly would have been a great explanation as to why the sixth Doctor was what he was. So what I would have liked to have seen is Tom Baker to Sylvester McCoy to Peter Davison. And then they start off with Colin Baker having that problem with his regeneration not going right. That would have explained everything, and that would have gone, okay, so he's fucked up. I got that. Clearly, he's fucked up. So he's got the Gilderoy Lockhart syndrome. Okay. And I see that tapering down and then cutting it off. So that's like the order of looking back at the retro era. I feel like they absolutely just messed everything up. Peter Davison, the fifth Doctor, was more of a transition role between the classic era and the retro era. And just if you didn't see the episode that I talk about, it's Doctors 1, 2, 3, and 4 are very much the classic Doctor Who, and they are currently my favorite Doctors. They are currently my favorite episodes to watch. Are the first 4 years, our first 4 regenerations, phenomenal television. The retro years. Doctors 6, 7 are, it's definitely, there's just so much 80s. Everyone's got huge, like this one, oh my God, Ronnie's got these huge shoulder pads, but because they're science fiction, they wanted to make them look modern for the 80s. So they have them like, there's a lot of stuff like that. That's just like, you want me to believe that this is another planet, but everyone looks like they just stepped out of a disco joint. I can't buy this. So it's really hard to think that all these aliens, like I'm watching, you get that when you watch Star Trek. It's the 60s and everyone looks like they're from the 60s. Okay, it's pajama men from space. I don't expect much more than that. It's awesome. But I come to accept that with it. Kind of cheesy. We all get Kirk's roundhouse kick. But with Doctor Who, they didn't do that. It was 60s, but it didn't look like 60s. And even then, they pulled in Barbara and Ian. Barbara, this is the companions, the Doctor's very first companions. I mean, episode 1, The Unearthly Child, arc 1, and you see Barbara and Ian. Barbara's got the 1960s hairstyle, 1960s clothing, but all their stops, all the aliens they stop by don't have that look. They look like they're from a different time zone. They look like they're aliens. They don't look like 1960s Earth. And with the 80s, they clearly still have that image. When they go to different planets, they carry that 80s look with them. So that's something that I find really hard to get over because they don't give you a chance to forget that you're watching 1980s television. Instead, they ram it down your throats. I'm really going to talk about Sylvester McCoy right now. The actor was phenomenal. The actor was absolutely the most amazing actor I have seen when it came to Doctor Who, as far as a portrayal of the role. He captured it. He was it. He had so much going for him. And I would almost dare say that he was better than Patrick and Tom Baker had he had a different writer. If Sylvester McCoy had been cast during Patrick's years, I probably would have preferred him over Patrick. He was phenomenal. He just did the role so well. Unfortunately, the ratings had already suffered. The tech was there. There was just so much going wrong. And he did great with what he had. The arcs were terrible. The writing was just painful. It was more painful in Doctor 7 than it was in Doctor 6. The writing actually declined. The writing was just god-awful. Paradise Towers was horrible. Horrible. Paradise Towers. Oh. It was, watching Paradise Towers was like literally taking the 80s, laying it out on a chopping block, cutting out a 1-inch sliver from that time period and shoving it into Doctor Who. That is really what it looked like. I have all the arcs, literally from Doctor 1 all the way to the film in 1999, the end of Doctor 7. There were 2 arcs that were so bad, three arcs that were so bad that they are forever frozen in my brain. And four arcs, and that would be the Zarbi. Oh my god! From Doctor 1, the Zarbi were just horrible. The second would be Paradise Towers, Marco Polo, and the circus, the Psychic Circus. Oh my god. And Paradise Towers and Psychic Circus, by the way, are both from the 7th Doctor. Okay? I just, I think about it. So were Zarbi and Marco Polo were both from the 1st Doctor. So, now there was a handful of arcs that were just phenomenal arcs. Beautiful arcs. Like, War Games. It's an arc that every Doctor Who fan, every Whovian should see, is War Games. I had my kids watching it the other day, and they were just like, yeah! And I'm like, yeah, just wait, it gets better. War Games was absolutely phenomenal. 2nd Doctor, end of his regeneration, watch it. War Games was great. Sylvester McCoy captured this. With every Doctor, I can look at them and go, okay, I see which parts of who they are. There's pretty much 3 primary personalities of the Doctor. Tom Baker took the art of combining those personalities and mastered it. But there is the clown, the kind of that goofball, twitchy, that would be Patrick. The musical aspect of the character's personality, that is Patrick. And I am a firm believer, after seeing what I saw, that the Doctor can play virtually every instrument in existence, no matter where he's from. That is Patrick. That is 100% the 2nd Doctor's regeneration. Doctor 3 came in with a deep sophistication, a very profound sophistication. Everything was serious. Everything was that intense, driven depth to him. That is absolutely John Pertwee. As goofy and weird and wonderful as Patrick was, the 3rd regeneration was as serious and strict, and not strict. The 1st Doctor was strict. The 3rd one was seriousness. It's very serious. It was a phenomenal experience. And then Tom Baker came in, and he had this ability to blend. And he did. He blended Doctors 1, 2, and 3 into this mixture of what he would become. And he brought his own element to the story, or to the character. So by the time Tom Baker was done with the role, he had quite literally made this fourth persona of the Doctor that was just phenomenal. So up to that point, we saw like personality A of the Doctor, personality B of the Doctor, personality C, and then he wedged it together to get like personality AB. So now what we have every single time a Doctor comes on, you get this beautiful blend of which Doctor. Dr. 5 came on, and I could see definitely 4 of the Doctors crammed into this person. It was beautiful. Dr. 7 was a lot of personality, too. He was absolutely just very much tuned into Patrick Troughton's performance. But he definitely had Tom Baker in him as well. I definitely, like, that was very, very clear. But he also was reminiscent, just slightly, just enough, of Dr. 6. And this is very, very minor. For instance, Dr. 6 carried an umbrella, but it was kind of in the background. It was like, eh. But when Dr. 7 made the saying, he always carried the umbrella. It was like watching Dr. 4 pick up a scarf. He had that scarf, but then Dr. 5 came on. He found a different scarf, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to keep my scarf. But instead of it being a 20-foot scarf, well, no, it's more like Dr. 3 finds a scarf and wears it all the time. But Dr. 4 comes in and says, this needs to be longer. Yeah, that's really what it was like. Very much, that's what it felt like. It was just, I could see the third Doctor attending an opera. I could see the first Doctor sitting in a rocking chair with his grandchildren around him. I could see the second Doctor on vaudeville being, yeah, absolutely, next to Karl Marx and Harpo Marx. That is really where the second Doctor belongs, on vaudeville. And I see, there was a lot of Phantom of the Opera almost, that definitely, that classic opera feel to Jon Pertwee, to the third Doctor. Tom Baker, he was very much a Sherlock Holmes. That's it right there. He was Sherlock Holmes. So we have this Sherlock Holmes persona, this vaudeville Karl Marx kind of character, definitely in the Marx Brothers, an old grandfather mixed with this classic opera house gentleman. That is the Doctor. When you get all 4 of those combined, that is the Doctor. So when you get to Dr. 5, you kind of start to see which ones of which he is. You get to Dr. 6. And Dr. 6, they just messed everything up. I call that his okay, the regeneration didn't go well, and it's still kind of batty. The Doctor is not the Doctor. He's Gilderoy Lockhart in disguise. That's the Doctor for the 6th Doctor. The 7th Doctor was definitely Patrick Troughton. That was very prominent. He definitely, there's this one moment he ran into the hall. He ran so quickly that he quickly caught himself, jumped up on his leg, balanced, turned, and right down. That, absolutely, I loved him. Within the first couple episodes that you see him, he walks in, picks up parts, picks up pots to the TARDIS, and he starts playing the spoons. Now, Sylvester McCoy could play the spoons. He does very, very well. He's absolutely a very talented spoon player. In fact, if you go to YouTube and type in Sylvester McCoy playing the spoons, you'll get a lot of material up. He's very, very good. So for him to come in, and the way he did it, he picked up these parts of the TARDIS, went, oh, they look like spoons, and he just started playing the spoons. Now, I grew up watching spoon playing. I have never seen it done like the way he does it. It was gorgeous the way he does it. It was hilarious. And he definitely had a lot of elements from Doctor 2 that he used in that. But he definitely captured, despite the bad writing, despite the bad producing, despite the good, awful, bad scenes and the setting and the costumes, he rose above all that and was like this magnificent, wonderful beacon in all of this. Seriously, Sylvester McCoy's performance was wonderful to enjoy. Just absolutely phenomenal. I felt like I was sitting there with Patrick all over again. And I spent a lot of it going, God, I really, really, really wish that he was all the way back in the beginning. My ringtone. I love Doctor Who. So, if another person calls me, it's Matt Smith saying, right, just a little bit awkward, don't quite know how to say this, but the TARDIS has landed inside your phone. But everything's working okay, so it's alright. When the movie started, Sylvester McCoy came in and continued his role right up until his final regeneration. It was astounding. It was just absolutely astounding to watch this role with Sylvester McCoy. It was like this wonderful, refreshing blast from the past that really came from that early classic Who, just slammed in the middle to kind of wrap up that retro period. It was a beautiful ending to that. It was just such a beautiful, refreshing, and that psychic circus, oh God, the good God, was that hell to watch. There's just such hell to watch. There was, the writing really was so bad. All I can think of now is Star Trek, Spock sprang, but Captain, what do they want? Spock sprang. That is what it felt like. There were days where I'm just like, oh my God, this is like Spock's brain bad. Oh, but I got through it. So, yeah, Sylvester McCoy was phenomenal. Now, with these doctors all under my looking back, Patrick Troughton, Doctor 2, is still my favorite. Absolutely. And I wonder a lot if that's because I was watching the first Doctor, and he was so one-dimensional. And this is with the greatest of respect. I severely, deeply respect the fact that he is the first Doctor. But he delivered such a very strict, very stiff role. I remember this one time, and this is a perfect explanation. First, he had no idea what he was doing. They had no idea what the show was going to be. He had no idea that he was going to regenerate. But this one moment, he walks into an alien museum. He turns, and he sees a Dalek on display, and he goes, oh, dear child. He's talking to his granddaughter, Susan. Oh, you but gave me a heart attack. That is how he responds to the Dalek. And I'm like, really? So that was really a dude. Patrick comes into the picture, and he does this gorgeous when he sees the Dalek. Very similar to Christopher Eccleston's performance in 2005. Very similar. So when I saw Christopher Eccleston in 2005 react to the Dalek, it was very similar to the way Patrick Troughton reacted to the Dalek. With that same, holy crap, these things are terrifying. And they are terrifying. Yeah, so horrifying. I need to do like a whole thing just on the development of the Daleks. Seeing them from point A, oh good God, wow. Okay, that's a whole nother, but yes. Sylvester McCoy!